Congratulations and thanks for registering. Now, you're going to get an email that's going to confirm your registration for the workshop, and you'll have a link to it in that workshop as well. So the important thing here, I'm going to walk you through something, the 5 fallacies of Facebook ads right after this, but just quick directions for you. Make sure to mark this on your calendar on the exact date and time, and make sure that you whitelist our emails coming through, because sometimes those emails get popped into promotions or spam, and you want to make sure that you get those emails on time so that you don't miss the workshop. Okay, so what I want to walk you through here real quick while you're here is to help prep you for the workshop. So this is an important prep video. Please pay attention. Okay, so this particular set I call the 5 fallacies of Facebook ads. There's something about the fact that a lot of the marketing methodologies were never designed for Facebook, like I've talked about before, and this is one of them. So I'm actually going to show you kind of the 5 manifestations or problems that people have when they try to apply this type of thinking to Facebook. Okay, so first one, as you can see, is what they call aiming for the cheapest lead. And you see, aiming for the cheapest lead is not the smartest thing to do, because the difference in a nutshell is that you want to be able to have the quality leads, the ones that are going to convert. You see, old methodology would always be about casting a really wide funnel and getting all the leads you can, then being able to have a few of them drop through the funnel. But the way the Facebook algorithm works, it wants to be as efficient as possible in the leads that it gives you. And so you've got to be willing to pay a little bit more, but the quality of the lead will mean a higher customer value for you, because the quality leads are the ones that convert at a higher conversion rate, and they usually pay more. Those lifetime customer values overall across all of our clients in the agency is just much far and away much higher when we pre-qualify somebody much more than just the old ads they were running before we brought them on or before we consulted them. Okay, so the big thing here is the cheapest lead is not the case. You really want to, instead, you want to pay the most. Now, I know that's a little scary, right? You're like, why would you tell me to pay more? Pay the most for quality, okay? So what that means is, if you're going to compete with others on the platform, you want to be able to know how much you can pay for a quality lead, because here you may get like a $2 lead, right? $2, but then they convert at like, very small, 3%, right? But then if you're paying 3.5 here, or even 4, but let's just do 3.5. No, let's do 4 to be completely fair, right? So if you have 4, then at $4, if your conversion rate is 8%, then the difference between 3 and 8% is, even if you just doubled your conversion to 6% here, it would be the same. But these better quality leads convert better. Okay, that's the concept. They convert better because Facebook has those 400,000 different data attributions that allow them to understand who's the most likely to convert for what you're optimizing for, which is a lot of the time why we recommend at least a portion of your campaign be optimizing for purchase, because we want that ultimate end goal, right? So the paying for the quality lead is where you really want this to be. So that's one thing, right? Is shift your mind a little bit in terms of, if you want to be able to scale, you have to be able to outbid your competition. How you do that is, what your lifetime customer value is based on your 30-day customer value and how much they're worth to you in 30 days. And how fast your velocity of return is. We'll talk about that, as well as the lifetime customer value. Like, what are they worth to you after 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, that type of thing, right? And when you know that number, you know what you're willing to pay for a lead or a sale to justify your margins, okay? So it's super important. When people get stuck in the cheapest lead thing, they can't scale, right? Because it's about getting the quality leads. You got to bid for those better, high quality leads, but they work a lot better. So it's not always the case, but we'll prove a lot of this, okay? So number 2 really is, one of the fallacies is a metric that you see a lot of the time with other platforms is measuring cost per click, okay? cost per click, which is known as CPC. You may have heard that term before, especially if you've been around for a while, and I promise you that's not the metric you want to optimize for or pay attention to and use as your baseline at all. Why? Because Facebook, it's not a flat thing where you just pay a certain cost and then the lower your cost per click, the lower the cost of your lead is or your customer, right? It's kind of like the same thing up here. You know, the cost of the lead doesn't matter. The cost per click doesn't matter as much. What actually you want to pay attention to more is your cost per impression, not your cost per click. You want to pay attention to cost per impression. And the thing about measuring cost per click is that's very relative based on what the algorithm needs and wants and the available audience and what you're doing with your message. So all of that essentially means that your cost per click, that's a fallacy. A lot of people get hung up on, well, what's my cost per click? Wrong metric to go after, okay? So that's just one thing that we'll talk more about on the workshop as well, okay? Now the next thing is, now we've talked a little bit about this on the last page, is the shorter the ad, the better. Because the first temptation is that when someone isn't getting clicks, link clicks, they shorten up their ad because they think, well, my ad must be too long because they're not reading through it or they're not watching the whole video. And so they attempt to even make their ad even shorter to get a better click. And that's actually the exact opposite of what you want to do, because we found that if you lengthen out your ad, but make sure you follow a specific structure, which is what we're going to show you on the workshop, okay, is if you follow our structure that's actually a natural decision-making process for somebody and follow our worksheets that actually help you understand the right points to talk to them about, which has the right set of questions to help you know what that is, okay, then you know that shorter the ads is worse. You're actually shooting yourself in the foot because you're doing less pre-qualification. You're widening up your funnel to a broader range of people and you're doing less pre-qualification. And also your engagement and relevance scores may go down because people are not spending as much time on your ad, which is a huge thing for user experience, okay? And Facebook favors the user experience over everything else, okay? So that's number 3. The shorter the ad, the better. That's a total fallacy, and you want a quality ad, right? It's quality over quantity in lots of ways, okay? So then the 4th thing is optimizing for the next step. Now, a lot of people are a little puzzled by this one, but the real crux of it is people oftentimes want to optimize, like if you're doing an e-com product, you're going to try to optimize for like add to cart, right? Rather than optimizing for purchase. Or you're going to optimize for a lead or a webinar registrant oftentimes because it's the next step in your process and you want to get as many of those as possible. And although that is true in a way, you want to actually be able to optimize further along. So let's say, like, with a webinar, you don't want to optimize for a webinar registrant, you want to optimize for a webinar attendee, which is going to be less people, but it's better quality people, and you usually will have a higher attendance rate, okay? And then obviously, yes, optimizing for purchase as well. But a lot of people like to optimize for checkout pages, which, if you think about it, keep this in mind. 70 to 80% of people who hit a checkout page leave. So what's the dominant behavior that's happening on that checkout page? They're choosing not to buy. Why would I want to optimize for a step that has 70 to 80% of people doing the exact opposite of what I want them to do? So keep that in mind. There are places sometimes where we make exceptions and we do some of our optimization around that, but for the most part, checkout pages are not the place, okay? It's just, when you have that many people, that's the dominant behavior that Facebook is focusing on and seeing with their pixel on that page, and they see all these people leaving and they're like, okay, we're gonna get, it's most of those people, right? You don't want that, right? So optimizing for the next step, you wanna optimize further in your funnel as long as you can get enough conversions per week per ad set or ad, right? Which is usually 30 to 50 conversions per week. 50 is optimal, 30 you can still optimize with, somewhere in between is cool, okay? So if you want to set up your ad sets and your campaigns to where you can get 30 to 50 conversions per week if it's going to be an attendee or a purchase, right? So, but we'll get there. So then the last one here is the thing that kind of racks my nerves a little bit, is people thinking that they need a gimmicky pattern interrupt. Okay? And this is like this whole thing where people think they have to get attention, right? Getting somebody's attention. And this is so passé because so many people are used to it. And I don't know about you, but I usually would say that attention getters, where people try to do like crazy, like, hey, stop the scroll, click unmute, you know, hey, let me get your attention. Like all of that stuff, in my opinion, after running an agency that's ran millions in ad spend and been doing Facebook ads for 8 or 9 years now, is the most amateur thing you can do. Sure, it seems like a great idea when you don't think about it beyond that too much. Getting someone's attention sounds like a good idea. But you don't want to do that because then you're invasive and you're causing a bad user experience, because a lot of people who don't want what you have are now going to mark it as spam, hide the post, don't want to see posts from you. This is, you know, like spam, all those things, right? And so you don't want to be trying to be in people's face. And that's completely diametrically opposed to what you want to do on Facebook. Your ad is going to appeal to a certain amount of people. Your job is to make sure that those people, you have set the right context for them so that when they scan through their newsfeed, they're like, ah, that's relevant to me. Let me read that. Come off as a professional, not an amateur. Okay? So no pattern interrupts. You want to set context instead. So this is kind of the big thing here that a lot of people miss and most people never think about. So we've proven all of this beyond a shadow of a doubt, especially with our templates and our formulas and what we do in the agency every day. This is something that if you come to this workshop, you're going to start to understand why some of this works. We're going to have some case study. We're going to show numbers. We're going to show back office. We're going to show screenshots. We're going to show what's out there and why the correlation between these things work. So you definitely want to be on that workshop. And on that workshop, if you stay till the end, like we've said, you'll get that template, okay? But you got to stay to the end, all right? And that's our way of saying thank you for staying on and listening, because we do have an offer for you, like we've said before. And it's not a agency offer. We've recently closed off taking on new clients from agency management. We still do a little consulting, but what we'll have as an offer is an actually do-it-yourself course that is combined from our agency's, you know, templates and formulas and processes and all of that. So if you want to check out that offer, we give a special offer with a special discounted price on that workshop. So you want to be there live for that so that you can take advantage of the special discount. Okay. So with that, we'll see you on the workshop. Make sure to mark your calendar, check your emails, whitelist us, and we'll see you on the workshop.